and that does 113. Our guess was 112. And this move does double the amount of damage even though it's got less power, because so many people get this one thing wrong. So first of all, let me just show you one thing real quick, okay? I have a Frostier, right? Level 104 Frostier, and I have Ice Spike and Glacial Spike. Now let me ask you this. Which one does more damage? 50 power or 45 power? It's like, would you rather have $1 or $2? Well, obviously you take the $2, right? So then you use the Ice Spike move, and then let's just find a random Lavite here, because this is my test dummy. This guy's got an insane amount of HP. And let's just use this move, which is 50 power. Now it is cut in half because I'm not really effective against the rock type matchup. But don't worry about that, because look, I do that, and take a look, that's 56 damage, right? Now I'm gonna do it a couple of times because it does vary a little bit, like 56, 57, you know, it does vary a tiny bit. But okay, I don't know why it got cut in half there. But again, it's like 56, 57-ish, right? Now, let me show you the other move, because you're thinking, okay, 56, 57, well, the other move, because it's got less power, it's going to do a little bit less damage. Maybe instead of 56, 57, maybe it gets to like 50, maybe 45, right? Because that would be a completely reasonable option for you to think of. Well, take a look at this. Glacial Spike was less base power, 45 base power by the way, compared to 50, and it does 114. And it's not just a fluke, it's not a crit either, like 112, right? That's so weird. Why does that keep on happening? How does that even work? Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to be doing less damage with, no, more damage with a less base power move. Well, it's all due to how your attack damage and how damage is actually calculated in the entire game. Now, I am a little bit of a nerd, so I am going to calculate the damage for you guys and show you exactly how damage is calculated. And this is a guess, but it's basically like 95% accurate, which I don't know how I got to that, but let me just show you, okay? So, first of all, let me break down why one does more damage than the other. And the reason being is that Glacial Spike does basically twice the damage as Ice Spike, not because of its base power. While its base power does indeed help it technically do more damage, it's also due to other factors of the move. Because if you take a look, there is one major difference. This one uses special attack, and this one uses regular attack. Now, the difference between the two attacks is that, first of all, they use different defenses. For example, if we grab a random Lavite that I have here, right? Okay, let's just grab, like, I don't know, this Lavite that I have here. We can see that it's got different defenses and special defense. And this will range greatly depending on what kind of Evilmon you are facing. So if you want to do the most amount of damage, you need to do the damage type that has the least amount of defense. Like if I use a special attack move, it'd do more damage to this Lavite than if I did a regular attack move, as you have more physical defense but less special defense. And this varies Evilmon to Evilmon. So okay, I still don't know why my UI is so small. Probably got to change that. But let's take a look at okay, who do I actually have? Like Pebble, right? We can take a look at the two defenses are basically the same. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Or maybe if we take a look at Volcrest, we can see that it has slightly higher special defense than regular defense. So you will need to use a physical attack against Volcrest if you want to do the most amount of damage. Or maybe my shiny Lava Rock. It has a much higher defense than it does of special defense. So if you are defeating or trying to defeat a Lava Rock, you must use a move that is both special defense or special attack, but also probably a water type move, and that is 4 times effectiveness. So probably there's going to be a really good Evilmon in meta where it's a water type and it does special attack, because that's clearly the victor here. But yeah, you do have to account for defenses and special defense. And these, it's not just based off the Evilmon itself, it could vary based off of like what kind of traits you have on the Evilmon and stuff. Like for example, your talents, right? If you take a look here, I have this talent increasing my regular defense. So my regular defense goes through the roof, and you can even get a nature that increases your regular defense or increases your special defense. So you do have to keep that in mind. Now the second thing, which is the most important thing, is the damage type you are doing. Now if we take a look at, for example, my Lava Rock here, it's got 300 attack compared to 208 special attack. So its attack is going to be basically 50% more potent compared to my special attack. That is why I need a move that, like for example, I have Stone Edge, right? And also I have Earth Power. And while Earth Power is 100 damage and Stone Edge is 80 damage, you'll see that Stone Edge does do more damage than Earth Power, because Earth Power it's based off 208 special attack, but Stone Edge is based off of 300 special attack. So this is basically going to have a base power of 120 compared to 100 if you do account for the differences in attack and special attack. And as we know, 120 is bigger than 100, but 80 seems like less than 100, so it seems a little bit counterintuitive, but you'll get it once you compare it with the attack and special attacks. And now it is time for the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Calculating the exact amount of damage, and you can know how much damage you'll do to any kind of Evilmon before you even get into a battle. That way you can know exactly if you do enough damage to kill them, or if you know exactly you'll be like one damage short. Like I could be fighting this lava rock here, and I'll know, okay, I will do exactly 115 damage to him or something. So here's how the damage calculation works, and it's honestly pretty simple once you get to know it. First of all, you're going to take whatever move you have. So for example, Glacial Spike, we're going to take Glacial Spike, and let's put it into our calculator. The power is 45, so we are going to type in 45. Next up, because it is special attack, we are going to compare this move to our special attack enhancer. So this enhances our special attack by 273. So we are going to multiply that by 273. And that will give us a value, and this is going to be our true damage value. Now this is before any kind of defenses, before any kind of anything else. But just so you know, if the opponent had a defense stat of 0, this is actually how much damage you'd be doing. And I'm not even joking, you'd actually be doing this much damage, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Next up, you got this stat, it already accounts for whatever talents you have. For example, my talent here, it increases my special attack as well as my nature. That also increases my special attack. Also account for any kind of traits that you do have, though I don't believe many of these traits actually increase the amount of power you do. But for example, a couple of these, for example, like if you are a fire type, right, and you're below 50% HP, fire type skills gain plus 25% power. Simply multiply it by 1.25. But of course I don't have that, so I'm going to divide it by 1.25 to cancel it back out. Go back to my original value. Next up, I am going to look at any kind of maybe equipments that I might have, because equipments, the base stats of them will be contributed to here. For example, my special attack is 273. If I grab something that increases my special attack by 5, it goes to 278. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about specifically the traits that they give, like the passives. So I don't think there's any right now, but eventually in the game there'll be some that increases like your special attack. Or for example, that one increases your attack by 2 stages, so you will also have to account for that as well, because that will change the base power that you'll be doing. For example, Glacial Spike 45 might go to like 60 base power, 70, I don't know. But after you have this base value, next up, what you are going to do is you're going to take a look at your opponent's Evilmon, because of course you're not just doing damage to like a training dummy, you're going to be doing damage to an actual Evilmon. So let's take a look at just a regular Lavite, right? For example, I have this Lavite over here, and this is going to be the average Lavite you see in this area. This is level 43. The average Lavite in here is around like level 40-ish, so it's going to be off by a little bit, so just increase it by a tiny amount, but this is best we have. So like level 43 Lavite, and we are going to divide it by the special defense, as we are using special attack against it. So the special defense is approximately 57, but do keep in mind that our opponents are going to be a little bit lower level, so it's probably around 55-ish, so divided by 55, and we will get this value of 223. Last but not least, here's the final thing you must account for. There is type advantages in the game. So because I'm Ice type, and Ice type is resisted by Fire type, that means that I will be doing half the damage to a Fire type, as that is a 50% effectiveness. So I'm going to multiply it by 0.5, and this will give me a value of 111.68, approximately 112, 110-ish, and let's see if it's actually accurate. So we have Glacial Spike here, we're going to go against your average lava rock, and hopefully it will be pretty accurate. You know, maybe it might be off by like a couple of digits, but I mean, it still is a really good estimate. So let's take a look at how much damage it does. I'm going to put a one-time speed, I just want to see, and that does 113. Our guess was 112. Now, isn't that crazy? We'll go again, And 113, bro, that is so cool. We basically got the exact damage. Of course, this guy, his defenses might be a little bit lower, might be a little bit higher, who knows. All we know is that this is basically almost 100% accurate for calculating damage, and that is why you can't just simply go by the higher base stat or the higher damaging type. You need to go by the higher attack or special attack that you have, and account for your opponent's defenses, and do everything. And this is very important when it comes to like PvP or when it comes to towers. If you're stuck at a stage, be sure to use this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.